Now, Bebe,
Yes.
me have been interested to know, in the last election, your father, Mr. Jabiru Danisari, a veteran politician, was in the race. You did not support him, you supported President Museveni. Many people found that unusual. Why?
Well, basically, I think with the kind of nation where we are today, there's one thing that people most of the time keep forgetting. As in, we grow, we no longer, of the same age that we used to be those days. So the thinking capacity, the brain is mature, the things we do, the things we go through, you become a different person every day. Now, your decisions depend on who you are then. I'm a father now. I'm a responsible citizen. And I've got kids. There are some needs I need to see in the future. And all that depends on my choice. So basically my decision for the president, first and foremost, you've known me as a movement guy since a long time back. Of course with my father. And of course within the movement I made friends. Including the president himself, personal friends. But
is the president your personal friend?
Yes, he is my personal friend. But
is your father your personal friend?
Oh yes, he is my personal friend.
So you have to make a choice between two personal friends?
Yes, I had to make a choice between two personal friends, including blood, and there was a lot at risk, most especially at the moment. With me, I was born of a political family, so my thinking is not musical or normal, it's political. Be it when I'm thinking during the music, the games we play, the decisions that we have always. So I saw this as an opportunity to express my real self, to the public, because it is very vital for the public to value us guys. The public has a lot of misconceptions and misunderstandings when it comes to us guys. Most especially dreadlocks, 2, they're musicians, 3, what the papers write, they do drugs. So the public thinks we don't think. So the decision,
the public adore you because of the music.
They adore because of the music, but they do not think we think faster or better.
They don't respect.
They don't respect
artistically, but they don't respect you intellectually.
Intellectually, and if someone does not respect you intellectually, that means even your artistical, one day your stem of art will be broken down as soon as you stop singing. Then that's it. But if I stop singing, I want my my respect to stay. So the decision, if you were my father, it didn't take me a long time to weigh. If I weighed my father and the president, first, I must tell you this, I'm 34, I've known one president since I started to think. 2, I'm a bright boy. I've got very good brains. I did PCM at my A-level. Choice of not to go to university, because then university was just a paper. To me, it was just a paper, because I've seen so many people get there, they walk. So many people who go and start selling small things and make a supermarket, and then they do what, a restaurant, they're rich today. I'm a good example. Choice of going to sing rather than going to university. Today I'm a rich guy, responsible.
In economics we call it opportunity cost.
Exactly.
But let me ask you this, Bebe. Did you discuss your decision?
No, I did
with
not.
Your father?
No, that's where I'm coming. When I weighed, I knew very well that with all the politics I've had seen in this country, considering the fact that it has been a third world country, considering the fact that I've read what the other presidents were like, I've seen people talk about them, and considering the fact that we were coming from a ditch, it wasn't that the Museveni found this country, so heavenly. If you go into your economics and the hard thinking of saying that, Amin had this better, and Bote had this better, Museveni missed this, you see, to a layman, that is not applicable. To a layman, the first choice is everyday life. Actually, that's where the president happened to beat all these people today with such a percentage, and I'm very happy that you agree that he beat them, he didn't steal the votes. Why? Because now he started...
There was some minor stealing.
Minor, but it couldn't have changed anything. Because he started to think how the layman thinks, not how politics should be done. Because the layman is today. So if I think about my father being a president, first consider the possibilities of him being a president. They were not there. Okay?
Why? You don't think Mr. Abdul is competent to run this country?
He's competent, but with the competition of the way the people were thinking, I mean, if Besigye had walked to my father to offer him the chance to say, okay, now, I think, because definitely to me, I think the only person who would have beaten Museveni would have been my father, nobody else. But Besigye stayed with the people that he got from the former mayor. You know, remember that saga when the mayor said, let's go support who? Besigye. That was Sebaga. All the opposition went on for you know, politics is as simple as we see it. You people make it so hard because of course you're politicians. So when be done,
who are the we people? Me and Mr.
No, the educated level, the educated
elite.
The elite. But you see, the majority is not educated. Okay, we don't know much about the basics, the books, the Y's, the Z's. All we know is if Andrew Mwenda comes and says Museveni is bad, I hear that. Okay, fine. And if Museveni comes and says Besigye is lying, I hear that. But you see, today when I go back at home, does my child have food? Now that's how we think down, the lay people. So my dad had an opportunity. If Besigye would have known that my dad cannot go to him to beg. For what?
But
and if Besigye had listened to my dad, because my father commented sometimes and said, if you want to lose this time, worse than you've ever lost, you go to a coalition. Because then you'd be dead. They don't do coalitions at that time. Okay? They do it at a later stage. They never listened. So, Besigye had all these people, but the people had no reason before.
Mubatsi, you had a question.
What attracts you to Museveni?
To me, he's a good, clever politician. And politics is a game. That is open. Okay?
In other words, what do you see in him that you don't see in your father?
Basically, he's managed. I mean, there's evidence that he's managed this nation. There are two things in Uganda. Uganda is you can easily rule Uganda. Okay? But Uganda is also a very stubborn country. I think this country needs someone who's a little, iron-handed. Because it is just developing. Opportunities are coming every other day. Money is in this country. Anybody can do anything. But someone needs to fear someone somewhere.
So you think we need a general in power?
I think we needed a general. For a time being, we still need a general. Because, for example, take an example of what has just happened. We just discovered oil. Do you want to leave that in the hands of you?
Don't you think your father would manage the oil?
No, he would, but not at the level at which it is going to be managed in the beginning. You get it? It is very okay, and I'm very anxious to see who comes after President Museveni.
Have you discussed with your father since after the campaigns?
Of course, when I came back from hospital, from the US, I was scared to see him because, of course, I made my man decision. But he called me. And he's like, no, come. Don't fear. I know I respect your decision. So we discussed. He's like, so what did you decide? I'm like, of course, I've said it open. I like the president. One, I must be open to him when I'm a musician. And my fraternity has come up in this, in this regime. Two, I've earned out of hard work. I've earned out of hard work. My work depends on two things. Working at night, I need security, safety. I'm an example of the same person. I'm the same guy who was shot in the night. But it wasn't because of insecurity. It was because of those small loopholes which are unavoidable. For example, a drunk policeman. Okay? So I will not take that against the government that, it is not safe to move at night. But this is what I'm going to do.
The president came to see you in hospital?
Yes.
How did he come there? Do you know?
As I told you in the beginning, he's a personal friend. Not only to me, but also my father. I mean, imagine if Midandi lost a son and president was not able to be there. I mean, when the vice president lost his son, it was too late for the president to get there. You get it? But I think it hurt him because his colleague lost a son. And I remember that speech he gave, and I saw in his eyes. So I think this wasn't being done as people were saying it was political. Museveni can do his own politics without singers. We are too minor. Even if we are determinants, somewhere, somehow. But we, to the level of politics, are too minor to a person who has his money. For example, if he chooses to use money to get his votes, then he doesn't get the singers. So the only thing that I know, the reason why he came, and I know for sure, is because us guys have been friends. It's a kind of a guy who was called for my entertainment into State House, or way back. But you know, it's not that.
How did you feel when he came to see you in the hospital?
Of course, it was 100% respect. That is history, man. I mean, a president recognizing an artist. It's not just by fun. I mean, ministers have been sick, friends have been sick, ambassadors and people have been admitted, but he does not go there.
He goes there for Bebe. Because you have a large following among the...
No, because I'm not the only person with a large following who has been down in hospital before. What I'm
But
trying
he
to
also
say...
his personal friend.
Yeah,
Okay, let me come back to the conversation between you and your father. So he calls you, said, don't fear, you go there. So what does he say, tell you?
No, he asked me, you know, how do you come up with your decision? I'm like, you know, to me, what matters most is I have seen myself work hard to who I am today. And there's only one person who has given me the opportunity that I still see I can even be richer tomorrow if I still have him. So it's like, okay, we don't discuss a lot with him, but my thinking between me and you, if most people thought I gave the president my vote or my siding or my following because he gave me money for treatment, well, they are so wrong. Because you yourself, you know, treating a person from America, if you came from Uganda and you don't have insurance, costs more than $400,000.
Yeah.
More than. But the president just gave me 70,000 only. And later on, he gave me another 40. And then he said he'll continue treating me because my treatment is going to take some time. So it wasn't a catch.
So he contributed $110,000.
Yes, of which so far my treatment has costed more than $250,000. Okay, including of course my father, including my family, my own funds. You get it? So it was the start that was very important. You get it? To see me out of the country, to see me safe. And secondly, I think the president also made a good choice. You know, there are choices that are good at a certain time. Let me tell you something, fraternity, the music fraternity is so strong in this country. Only needs recognition. And once you recognize it, then you will see where they can go. And then tomorrow they can be over.
Back to the conversation with Lord Van. I want you to be very specific, then what comes in. Just outline for me a couple of things between you and your father in that discussion. When he comes and says, okay, why are you not supporting? Did he ask for your support first of all?
Yes, he did.
And you said I can't.
I said I can't because I was open to him. I think my choice of a president is still the same guy.
Yes. And what was his reaction?
My father is a very complicated man. He's okay. Because you see...
That's not complicated.
No, it is because you'd expect him to be mad as a father. And that's the only reason why you question me that way. I wouldn't have expected him to say it's okay. He did say that. He said, you know, he
told you, okay, if you feel in your heart, in your mind, that Museveni is the right guy, it's okay for you to go and support him.
100%. And he knew I had a very big following, and he knew, by the way, I would have been a very big determinant to my father when it comes to voting. Even Mao would have come, my father would have come maybe third if I'm not sure.
How did you feel yourself at a very personal level to campaign for somebody else against your own father?
Because
did you suffer any moral dilemma? Any emotional dilemma?
No, I did not. Because you see, the politics is not personal. It's not to my house. It's to the nation. And if I've seen the advantages, not only to me, but to the whole nation, most especially the youth, okay? I've seen that there's a chance for the youth to get rich in Museveni's regime. To me, I've seen it. Because right now, for the last 1 year and a half, the way they've started tackling rich guys who have been existing for long in the governments, believe me, it's just beginning. And I can see, I can tell that the youth are being pushed in. So me, I'm very comfortable with him and whatever he's doing.
With Museveni?
Yes.
Mubatsi, you had a question.